All right, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin back again with another reaction video. And in this one, we're going to take a look at Sarah Elkhaldy's, a.k.a. the Alchemists video entitled The New Age a Deception, or Is the New Age a Deception?
Is the New Age a deception?
Yeah,
Good
I think
question.
she could have titled this The New Age Explained, because it's more kind of like lays out for you some of the beliefs that are tied to the New Age. And I think it's good because a video like this is hard to find. Like if you look up New Age Explained on YouTube, you're gonna get 1,000 videos of people who have something bad to say about the New Age, like why the New Age is a deception, why it's terrible. I think that's probably why she put the deception thing in the title search. It probably makes for a good search on YouTube.
Yeah, we've actually watched this one a couple of times now, which is rare for us, but it's it's going to be tricky to sort of add something to this, but we'll leave a link to the actual video if you want to watch it without our interpretations of it.
Yeah.
But it is honestly very well done.
This is
good explanation.
This is worth sitting through. I know it's a little bit longer than what we typically do, but if you can make it to the end, kudos.
And with an open mind.
As a mystic, one of the most common questions that I get asked are my thoughts and opinions of the New Age. Is the New Age purely demonic? Is the New Age purely a deception? So today I'm going to be clarifying exactly what the New Age is. The most important thing about dissecting the New Age is to first understand that it is a term that not everyone would even agree upon exactly what the New Age is defining. So how I would define the New Age would be different from how another person would define the New Age, and so forth. People are using the term New Age in a very derogative form, and it's just meant to diminish, discredit, and reject any form of information that's coming in this New Age. So within this age, we have such a revival of ancient knowledge. And that is a part of the assignment within this age. It is to put together, extract the wisdom from past ages, and then synthesize it within our age, this new age. But there's, once again, several different ways that people are perceiving the New Age. So we can look at the New Age from one perception, and this would be the perception where people fear it and have a lot of thoughts about the New Age being completely a demonic conception. Why people are equating the New Age with being demonic is because of one of the key features within the New Age. And what that is the fact that within this point in our evolution, which is being called this New Age, but what I call the spirit of this age, a part of our evolution is to step into our own sovereignty, and that is awakening within us our own gnosis. This means that we have direct experience of truth, direct knowledge of truth. And the reason why this is mistaken for being demonic is because in past ages, there was more control systems of religion. So there was always a mediator, whether that is a direct priestly caste, whether that is some form of medium between a person and whatever their higher self or higher power would be. And to not have this medium and to not have a central figure to worship is now being mistaken for being demonic, because now we...
Well, I see it as, a threat to a system. So, of course, the person that's being threatened by hey, I might lose my job as the medium or intercessor here, of course they're going to call that thing evil. Kind of makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things I want to say about that. So many examples that are probably redundant, but it's... If something is putting an end to a way of life, even if it's a better invention. This is like a newer, better technology. It's going to make things better from the perspective of the thing that's dying. It's always going to, it seems to be like common to things that are alive that they fight for their existence. Like, I don't want to grow arms and legs. I'm used to just being a thing that slithers around and bites.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is just the way it's going.
Yeah.
I wonder how many things like...
And it makes sense, like, because it's like a new thing, new age, why there's like thousands of videos online that are like, stay away from this thing, don't touch this thing.
Well, because it is an actual threat to you.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something to be said when people are evolving and they're developing these like libertine type things. And you get like some like, guy with like glasses and like a pocket protector like, well, I just want to have an atomic family and I think that you're of the devil. It's like, in some sense, they are the devil. They are you could demonize them. They're your threat. They are the antithesis and devil of you. And it'd be like, so it's pretty indirect sometimes. If something else becomes the cultural norm, like what's that guy supposed to do now? Like dye his hair pink and be like, check it out. I'm, like do something unnatural. I'm pro be authentic. If you're not there, don't fake the funk necessarily.
Yeah.
Unless it's natural to fake the funk for you. I don't know.
We can have direct connection with divinity, and we see divinity in ourselves and through all. So that's being called demonic because now it's being looked at through a younger phase of evolution. Not everyone who exists within this spirit of this age is actually in alignment with the assignment of this age. You have many souls that are still from an earlier stage of development. And because of that, they view the new age as being demonic because there is no medium anymore, whether that's a priestly caste or a deity that is acting as a middle ground between them and their higher power. That's why the new age is considered demonic. Now, to be fair, this argument about the new age being demonic because they have recognized their own divinity, they have recognized and realized that...
Recognizing your own divinity, this talk of higher self or being in touch with it. I've been toying with a lot of ideas lately because I've kind of tried out some new practices myself, one of which I'll call going into darkness, which I believe is often overlooked. I think that there's, just refer to Carl Jung. He could articulate it better than me, but he calls it shadow work. I call it going into darkness. And the idea to me is getting a good look. We've talked about this before, but there's a difference between like reconciling your hidden tendencies that you keep from yourself and then like getting deeply in touch in a way that transcends words with the base of reality, which is, if you reduce things to their simplest form, things get awfully dark, murky, simple, survivalistic. And when somebody talks about their higher self or getting in something above, to me, it seems like almost like something new. She already said it's new age, right? So what if the concept of goodness, what you think of as goodness, whatever that is like a new technology? And below that, there's something that like you almost want to ignore in this workaday world. We're like
we've a primal nature or whatever.
We've been culturated. We've been sophisticated by society and our religions and things like that.
Yeah.
And some people naturally understand this. Somebody that came from like a rough life that found religion is like, I know what darkness is. But not all of us did. Some of us grew up in a moralistic culture and they like neglected that beginning part of themselves. And sometimes the only way to get a really good look at it is to like put some skin in the game and be brave about it and be like, I accept this. I accept what it has to tell me and what's down here. You know what I mean? That in lieu of this video, it sounds pretty dark, but how can you get this idea? Like a lot of this might sound pretty strange to people, like going higher, your higher self. But like it reminds me of the structure of the brain. Yeah. It reminds me of like how the beginning of the brain is like limbic and reptilian, and then the neocortex evolved out of that. Like apparently inexplicably fast at some point in history. They were like the neocortex grew ridiculously rapidly. We don't really know why. Maybe humans found mushrooms, or that's when they found fire or whatever. Yeah. But maybe some of this like transcendent, reaching for the sky type attitude towards the good things, maybe it's like, we ought not to confuse that with like the underpinnings of reality. It's like, what if we really are crawling out of the mire?
Yeah.
What if even in some sense God is crawling out of the mire?
Well, maybe by, looking back at what you're saying to something maybe a little bit more accessible to you, it will help you have a greater understanding of what's ahead of you and what's in front of you and your the idea of the higher self.
What do you mean by that?
If you can go one way, why can't you go the other way? If I can look backwards into the primal nature of who I am and the dark things that are there, why can't I go in the other direction?
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a pretty succinct way of thinking of it too.
Yeah.
They are source, and that everything in their reality, all of being, is source, consciousness. There is an inverted form of that as well, because there's an inverted form of every concept. And one of those inverted forms, that is why the New Age is considered demonic, is when we take this truth of us being divinity, of us being source, and then we constrict it into meaning that it is a singular meaning, that we are singularly God, and that our will is above the will of our higher self and even spirit. In this inverted form, our ego becomes inflated into a narcissistic state where it sees nothing beyond its own will and seeks to serve only itself, even by using spiritual teachings to justify its narcissism. In this state, we view others as being subordinate to our will, less real than our own will, or less important than our own will. Thus, this state of being contracts itself into what is called a service to self pathway. On one end, we are spiritually awakening and expanding our consciousness into enlightenment, which is that truth that we are source and that all of creation is source. So that truth, side by side with the inversion of that truth, which is we are God, we are gods, and that all we need to do is worship ourselves or seek into ourselves, reject the concept of a higher power. All of the power lies within us. We are God. We are gods. That is why the New Age is considered demonic. Now, the New Age is also considered demonic for a few other reasons, like for having energy centers such as chakras and for also having divination. But divination and energy centers are from past ages. They're ancient. So because there's a hermetic revival going on and a revival of ancient knowledge, it's equated for being a New Age concept.
I'm thinking about the part there where she was speaking about this tendency for, or like maybe the shadow side of New Ageism or something becoming sort of narcissistic, solipsistic, which she talks about a little bit later. Yeah. This self-centered. So, and we talked about this before. Say the idea that you do become sort of narcissistic and you're like, well, I'm it, baby. I'm God, It's like, I think you could come to that conclusion where you realize that you're like, you really only can prove your own experience, and so you're solipsistic. But it still seems like from that state, like the rules still apply. Like if you neglect the things around you, the reality that's reflecting back to you, if you're it and it's you, and you're behaving one way to it, it's going to give you feedback that still should cause you to become more empathetic towards it. Unless things have gone terribly wrong in human society.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking you wouldn't be listening very hard to non-dual teachings if you just had this attitude of, well, I'm the one. Well, but I don't see it that like, I think there are people like that, but I think that would be something that's more rare.
The thing is, narcissism is a real issue, and studies show that it's actually like on the rise. Apparently, women are like catching up to men. Men typically have been more narcissistic over the years, and women are actually catching up. But I see that as sort of a natural progression. It will burn that sin out. You know, I was thinking about arrogance because somebody very kindly, I remember every time we've done one of our Hindu videos, I would go, "Who's that guy with the mustache?" And they'd go, somebody finally answered, or maybe they have in the past, if I happen to see this comment, and they said, "That's Ravana." And he was destroyed by arrogance in the end. And I was like, what is arrogance? And I was thinking about it. And to me, the biggest fault of arrogance is it's like you miss out on having consideration for others. You're so desperate to puff yourself up. It reeks of insecurity. It reeks of like, I need to be seen. But you could get into arguments of how an arrogant person emerges. We either all are accountable or we're not. We are reflecting to each other different things, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody naturally ends up in some arrogant phase, it's not like just the sole responsibility of the person that becomes arrogant.
Everything else that pushed that being to be that way.
In some sense, people conjured this. We all conjured it.
Yeah.
You know? So I just wanted to touch on that idea of, because people might get sort of like upset if they are going through a phase where they're getting a little self-centered and stuff like that. Like, to people that have maybe gone further, there is a perspective to arrive at where you see that. You know, maybe that's like maybe that's not many things people can relate to or are willing to relate to. Like, self-centeredness is just clearly wrong. It's like, I don't know. How much of this work have you done? It can get to a point where it's easy to start getting diluted and think of yourself as higher, and then you got to justify it by getting bombastic and stuff like that. That can happen.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think it's worth, just because a new idea comes up just to push it aside because it's new or not, give it a second to take a look at. Maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
In reality, it is the most ancient concepts that there were, to have energy centers and to have divination. Divination is not a feature of the New Age. Divination is a feature of the mirrored reality that we're in. Divination can be done through any tool a person chooses to use or discovers. It could be done through your thumb. It could be done through tarot cards. It could be done through your eyeball. It could be done through astrology. It can be done through literally any means, even numbers, especially numbers. Divination is mostly equated with numerology. So the reason why is because we're in a mirrored universe. And in a holographic, mirrored universe, you can take any part, and that part will contain all the information of the whole, because that's how a hologram works. So within the smallest micro part to the largest macro part, it will reflect and tell something about the psyche, the internal consciousness, and the external realm that it's operating in, as within, so without. So any part of the hologram, any tool, can be used for divination. And why it got equated with being demonic, rather than just knowing that it's a natural part of this organic hologram, is because past spiritual systems that were in control always had a very fickle, very hot and cold relationship with divinity. They would use it while also banning it. And sometimes it would be allowed, and sometimes it was demonic. And sometimes it would be allowed and permitted, and sometimes it was demonic. Because it was a way to control the collective consciousness. Having the ability to use any tool in a holographic reality to divinate would then be something that would help a person be able to realize what is happening within their own psyche and consciousness, which is what divination's for, and how that pertains, how that is a correlation to the external reality. That is too much self-awareness, and that needs to be controlled when you're in a toxic spiritual system. So that's why divinity got equated with being demonic. So the power
just gets me thinking about like why wouldn't people want you to know yourself? What's the game about keeping someone from knowing who they truly are inside? Are they more manipulable? Like, can you get more out of them? Do they make for a good slave?
Well, I mean, in the sea of all things, it's like it's assorted. There's all kinds of justifications for why you would do that. One person might like be like, no, people, if you let them be that aware, are freaking lazy. And so sometimes you got to like terrify them into getting their ass in gear.
Yeah,
And there's a point to be made there.
Yeah.
You know,
not everyone can be in a monastery.
Yeah,
you know? Someone's got to build the monastery.
Right. Yeah, I think that you ought to be in this work looking around and instead of like pushing things out, I think there's a huge integrative element to this and understanding the justification for why everything is. You know, earlier I was talking about going into darkness. Yeah. That is a result of like neglecting, what happens when you don't fully understand the underpinnings, the foundation of reality is I think you become a half-baked individual, and you can go around and one thing you can do is start projecting the darkness in you on everything else. Yeah. You're like, there's darkness, there's bad, and you see the evil and all this stuff. Yeah. Or you can get this weird passive-aggressive thing where you're like just casually cruel. Like, that's good for you for being brave enough to wear that. That's, I could never do like, smiling, like, which is like pretty common. Like, I don't want to be too judgy about that because that's like where we're at is this weird, fake, passive aggressive place in history. But for those of us that are like interested in becoming Jedi, I think that if you're going to wield the sword of truth and try to be like a truthful person, you're going to need some time to like go deep and like reconcile these things. Because not everything, it's a reflection, right? If you are going out and projecting that evil onto everything, it's going to be reflected back to you. And you didn't not notice something. Yeah. So you got to go in and like see what the heck is going on there. And then once you're mired in it and you're actually bored of it, you're like, I'm bored of darkness and residing with demons. Yeah. Now you're ready to like accept Christ. But some of us never get that opportunity. So like their whole life, they're like just causing havoc everywhere they go, thinking they're being good.
Oh, jeez,
I know that's not what the theme of this video is, but sometimes
just where you're at right now, and so that's what's speaking to you.
Or structures and institutions in the past called anything that threatened their control and anything that threatened their domination of the human mind and the human consciousness demonic, so that a person would not be able to know thyself and to learn about the true nature of our reality in all the different ways that one could learn about the true nature of reality. And so with this, what we see is anything now that is an ancient tool and ancient knowledge coming up as a revival, because that's a part of the spirit of this age. It's putting back together that sacred knowledge in its correct form. That's considered demonic. Everything's considered demonic if it's not you worshiping a god. Now, there is one thing that is very key inside the New Age movement, and this feature is very demonic. There's no sidestepping it. And it's something every person who's going through a spiritual awakening needs to be aware of. And what that is solipsism. Now, I'm quite fond of solipsism. I don't have such a hard...
Wait, she just said it is demonic, and then she said she's fond of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she's just talking about where it can lead someone if they grab onto it. To me, but we've seen this before, so to me, I think it's part of a thing that kind of comes and goes. It's something that it's an accepting, letting it go, and moving on.
I'm just saying that sounds like a stage turquoise statement. It is demonic, and I'm fond of it. I jive with those kinds of comments. And it almost sounds like, just, are you a low-key Satanist? I'm not. But I'm saying, like, this, what she said is this idea of like anything that isn't like worshiping a god, is demonic. It's like Satanism is a religion. To some people, they're like, Satan's, like, I can't speak for them. But I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, Satan is God.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of gods out there.
Yeah.
And, I think at this point, it's oscillated to inward exploration. Maybe it doesn't mean that it's off the table to like separate yourself from things and, further down the line. Sort of like you said, maybe it's just a phase.
Harsh or prude view about it, as some mystics do, because I know that it's a rite of passage. It's something that's going to come into our reality, and hopefully we can integrate it and continue along our way. But most people don't have that perception. Most people who know about ancient knowledge understand only the dangers of solipsism. And the dangers of solipsism are not only demonic, they're also the prime tenet of Satanism. And that's something that everyone who's interested in spiritual awakening should be aware of. And what that is to only focus upon the self. Now, doing this will naturally lead to a service to self pathway. And so what solipsism is this confusion as to what exactly reality we are in. Are we a reality where the only thing that exists is us? Or are we in a reality where there genuinely is other people having other experiences, even in other countries, and have their own souls and their own journeys, and we're all connected? This is a valid question. We can't just view this as being completely evil to think that, because when a person is expanding their consciousness, they're going to naturally go into stages of confusion. It is natural to, and if a person is always so sure of their beliefs, they are for sure a stunted individual who is too much in the frequency of fear to ever question and therefore ever expand their being. So solipsism comes in sometimes, not all.
That's a pretty harsh statement to say that, like, if someone who's in a state of certainty, they're stunted.
I know.
Right? And
I was thinking that too.
And they're in a state of fear.
And smilingly, like, if you're certain of yourself, I'm like, you're saying that with certainty. You seem certain.
No.
No, but I get it. Like, I like this video. Do not get me wrong, but we're doing a lot of different things here at once. One of them is trying to relate to other people that might be thinking the same thing.
Yeah. But no, I think what she said is something worth, taking a look at. Your certainty and how it may tie to fear. What's with certainty and fear?
Yeah. And what is fear, for God's sake? What the heck is it?
The fear of the unknown, because certainty
that's
is supposed to be the place
unknown.
of knowing,
but
right?
What is fear?
Yeah.
What is it? What is darkness? It's too bad that I just went through this pupation process that I wish I could talk about. But we always react to things instead of just talking openly about things. But yeah, what the heck is fear? And why is it what arrives when change is coming?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, there's got to be an answer for that.
Yeah.
All the times, but it comes in sometimes when we're going through a state of expansion, aka confusion. And during those times, we call everything into question, including what exactly the nature of reality is. And one of those key features that the powers that were play off of, they play off of the fact that the New Age, aka the spirit of this age, is going to evolve. That is the destiny of our age. And so how to control that, how to manipulate and distort that evolution, is by actually keeping us in a state of confusion, a state of solipsism. And so what we see in the New Age community is a lot of teachings infused intentionally to manipulate the New Age community. And what those teachings are is to not worry about the world at all. Only focus on the fact that you are a powerful creator being that can bring anything you want into manifestation, and that the rest of the world is an illusion, or the rest of the world doesn't matter. That is intentionally infused into the New Age community so that...
There's a real obvious one, okay? Imagine somebody sitting around and they're just like stinking, oozing, like... I don't mean like a legit person like Osho. I mean like your neighbor who's been going to yoga classes, or it's me for something, and they're all like blurry-eyed and... I've got so much grace right now. It will be fine. Everything's fine. It's like you're a bum. You're lazy. You're just not doing anything, right? There's a and I'm not mean to have, I've been that person.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I think you should do it. Indulge in it. Be the Big Lebowski for a week. It's fun. It's a fun stage. But it makes a good point, right? What is with that, you know? And I think it's just because it's not the end of the road, essentially. Like, the thing about it is it's not the final thing. I was listening to Alan Watts talk about Carl Jung, and apparently Carl Jung had this, like, gleam in his eye. Yeah. And what he equated that to was a term Alan Watts said, which is irreducible rascality. You know, this idea of, like, not thinking you're better than the people you're talking to, you know, not oozing with like self-righteousness. Like I know the shit that I am. I'm aware of it.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
It subdues us taking conscious action. Now, to be fair, there are many different channelers within the spirit of this age that are sharing very positive and uplifting messages that are coming from a state of, hey, you can take action, but just align the energy first. We're not saying that you can't take actions in the world. We're just saying your actions are useless if the actions you're taking aren't coming from an energetically aligned space first. And that is more than fair. That's actually how you create conscious action. How you create conscious action in the world is by, one, not staying passive, being subdued into complete and total passivity is not how you create conscious action, and it's actually not how you manifest. It's
got to be so frustrating for some people, like for me even, you know, and maybe you can empathize with this too, but there's got to be times where it feels frustrating. Like, I know when I was growing up and you go to church and you see people like doing this in the service, I was always like, I'm not there. I can pretend to, you know, and imagine like you grew up in a hippie commune and everybody's like achieved some kind of hippie transcendent thing, and you're like pretending to be that way. Like, there's a lot of us that are probably still got some Neanderthal blood in us that are like,
honestly, some people are more just open to that type of thing. Like, if you're not that person and you're in your 40s now, you're probably not that person. It'd be weird. I cannot imagine going to any spiritual venue and being like this, or like,
I could do it.
I could fake it, but it wouldn't be genuine. It's not me. It's not me. I'm just more of a reserved, like, kind of like, I could be there. I could, like, if they were like, okay, James, just do this. Okay, I can do it. But, like, I would never naturally be that. I'm not like that.
Think of how frustrating, and this is where the knowledge of the underpinnings of reality comes in handy, when you remember, oh yeah, it's all emerges out of darkness. Because imagine how sad that is when you are around people that actually they've collectivized and they are naturally like that. They're natural hippies. Yeah. And you're like faking it, you know, you're like faking being that way, you know. Maybe you got to go find your kind. Maybe you're not done searching till you find that last group of Neanderthals walking the earth that are like, I would never wear a tie. I would never not be a wild man. You know, like maybe, and it seems like there's, you know, the just changing of the guard. Like things are shifting in a certain direction, and that's kind of scary.
I think sometimes people feel like they can't grow, or that they may feel like, I'm not growing because I'm not doing the things that they're all doing, and they're supposed to be those enlightened people over there that know. So until I start embodying and acting like that, then I can't be that thing. But I don't think that is it. I think you can still kind of be you without taking on some of that and embody the growth, like get the growth and stuff that they have. It's just looks different, maybe.
Yeah.
Well as now the other side of the equation, and that is, don't take actions if they're coming from a fanatical, a fundamental, an unconscious, an unbalanced space. If you take action...
I love that. Don't take action. I think and love that. You know, I just want to put a little warning out there for when I talk about going into darkness. It's like one of the key hallmarks of this is you will not do anything. You're not going anywhere saying anything. You're not self-harming. You're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
If you do, you know, and don't do, you know, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy. But I'm saying, when I do talk about that, like going the opposite, this whole video, I'm reverse to this. This whole video is about going upwards. I'm stuck in, you know, being completely a PhD in the darkness before you start reaching out to the light. Yeah. You know? And I like what she said there of inactivity, but from like a conscious place. Like carving out time to not be active. If you are not in silence or in meditation doing nothing, the moment you step out your door, you won't be able to not take action. The mailman's going to go, watch out now. You know what I mean? You're going to have to, somebody will put a briefcase in your hand and you'll just be shoved to work. It's impossible not to be part of the world that's operating around you.
Yeah.
But if you're consciously carved out time, if you were smart, if you were lucky enough to get time to think things through,
yeah,
I think a hallmark of it is it shouldn't yield impulsivity. Like, I'm going to make a phone call now, Yeah. No, don't make any phone calls. Don't do anything harmful to yourself or anyone else. So anyway, I just agree with that.
Yeah.
Actions coming from a certain level of frequency. You're not going to get the results you want, and you're not going to do the actual good that you would think that you're doing to yourself or to the world. As well as you have on the other side of the equation, which I just said, just stay completely passive. All you have to do is create your reality through the thoughts that you have. Think positive thoughts, and those will be created in your external reality. So I really need to point out these two extremes, because this is why people truly, the ones who have an intelligent argument against the New Age, and not just the ones that are coming from, it's all demonic. The ones who have an intelligent argument against the New Age, it's because of this. It's how the New Age is being manipulated into taking either no action, subduing all of your conscious action, or it's coming from take action, take action, take action. You have to take action, and it's coming from fear. So we're hearing things that are happening inside the world, or we're hearing things that are happening inside what people want to do inside the world to us, or all these different things. And so we're taking actions while we're half-baked. We haven't fully cooked in the oven. And so our actions are coming from a frenetic space, energetically speaking. They're coming from a frantic space, or they're coming from a hyper-vigilant space. Or this passivity. It's completely trying to, one side is completely trying to sing you like a lullaby to sleep so that you do not actually create conscious manifestations in the world. And the other is trying to just ramp you up so that when you're manifesting, it's not powerful at all. It's coming from sheer cortisol. Now, that's why the New Age is considered demonic. It's because there is a huge, huge agenda, which is a key feature of the New Age, to sing our action to sleep so that we are completely passive. Humanity has not learned yet how to take conscious action. We know how to take hypervigilant action, or we know how to take passive manifesting action, but we don't know how to merge those two. And so that's also being exploited within this.
Yeah, to somebody that's like, oscillates from like depressed to tightly wound. There's always, I've heard that again and again in my life, is what she said. There's like, you're not lullabying yourself to some kind of a sleepy slug, and you're also not like frantic. You're taking conscious action. To those of you out there, the few that might be out there like me, they might resonate with like, for some reason that makes me intrigued and angry. Like because you want to take action sometimes. You want to jump it. You want that cortisol. Yeah. You're a cortisol addict.
It feels more like trying to. This would be the balanced approach. We're going to be balanced. You're going to take time to go inward, and then and you won't be taking all types of action. But when you do, you're going to know that it's right.
So maybe it's God. Maybe I'm a breed that's going to go extinct. Maybe we don't have to deal with my type too long because I'm like boring. I don't want to be balanced. I want to be some.
I knew.
One cartoonish version of something or another, which is stupid, man. It's freaking stupid. It's not mature, but we still exist. People like that.
This age, and so in conscious action, what that is self-awareness and awareness of what's happening within the world. And so with that, there's this healing action that comes. A person that's just in a half-baked state of awareness might take action prematurely. And there won't be anything super wrong with that. They just won't do the highest good, the highest frequency for all that could be done from a state of action that's done consciously, or in this case, done more consciously. And so when it comes to action, what's really important is to understand the fact that if we're not in an energetically aligned space first, we can't take conscious action in the world. And so an energetically aligned space is going to produce really positive actions with
energetically aligned space. It's like, my brain just like caught, like, so all I got to do is be energetically aligned. Like, you got to imagine there's some deluded ass people out there that are like, well, all I can say is that I'm energetically aligned, so I know everything I'm doing is aligned. Or even people that are a little more earnest than that are like, I'm feeling really energetically aligned. Like, everything is, I'm going down the river. Meanwhile, they're like headed towards doom.
I want someone to make like an energetic scientific new age chart so I can like try to understand it, because I get lost when people start talking about energies and frequencies. I'm like, what are we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, you know about chakras and how there's the root chakra.
Yeah, I know the idea behind chakras, but when it gets into energy and vibes and talking about those things, I know very little about that stuff. We should do a video on that.
Yeah, we should.
within the world. And no one can tell a person what actions to take. I wish I could. But a person's conscious action and another person's conscious action and another's will all be different dharmas that are a part of their soul profile. And so one person's conscious action and another person's conscious action may be different, but how you will know that it is conscious action is it's not coming from the frequency of being frenetic. It's not coming from fear or hypervigilance, but it's something that is producing positive, beneficial results for them.
Hypervigilance. Yeah, man, I've been all those things. I've been whatever frenetic means. I don't even know what that means, but I've been it. And, this moralizing, judging character, man, it's distasteful. I hope at least it's funny and obvious to everybody else. But it reeks of, lost in some kind of freaking delusion of things. Like, out of alignment with everything around you. It seems like.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you hear what I said? Maybe edit that part out.
Yeah.
Themselves and the all, or and others. Conscious action is not only fully supported, fully backed by universal consciousness, it is also how you will be able to evolve. So many times we want to take actions and then we see the effects of those actions and they're not what we wanted to produce. And so what we're getting is a mirror to help self-correct our actions so that they become more purified, so that they become refined, so that then we can become more conscious versions of ourselves. Would you want to be rewarded for being a less conscious version of yourself? If you had more development that you would have robbed yourself from, that you would have cheated yourself from? No. Universal consciousness has a synchronicity at play, an alignment at play. And what it does is fully back and compensate and support aligned conscious action, not only because it's for our highest development into our spiritual sovereignty, but also because it is in complete alignment with the higher order of this universe. The higher order of this universe does not want us to be inside a lower state of consciousness, trapped in it, and then being rewarded by us being in an infantile state of consciousness. The higher order of this universe sometimes loves us more than the love that we show for ourselves. And so when we have conscious action, what we're actually doing is being source incarnate. We are being those manifestors, those creator being selves. And the only way to do that is through that integration of our consciousness. And with that is how you will move mountains, as they say. So when a being is genuinely in alignment with the assignment of this age, we can understand the gifts of this age rather than comparing them to last ages. We're not stuck in the past through a romantic nostalgia where we have disdain for everything that we have to learn and everything that is different about this age. We also have the ability to extract the wisdom and the relics of the past ages, have respect for them and understand them, but also be able to evolve those concepts by communing with them directly so that we understand them in a way where we're gaining gnosis and not a way where...
Yeah, I can find that being I can see that being a sticky point for some people, evolving the ancient wisdoms of the past. Like if you're a traditionalist and you have an idea of how something should look, the idea that it can change or become something different than what it already is, how are you going to even be receptible to hearing that if you believe that it's unchangeable? It's a real pickle.
Oh man, I feel like it's I could have answered that better years ago. Sometimes it feels like you get so far away from one thing, but my mind tells me it's never too late to start anything, by the way. Like I don't care if you're 60 and earlier she was talking about manifesting, like you're not just going to sit there and manifest, and I agree with that. And it reminds me of that video of Sadhguru where he's looking up at the hill and he's talking about it's like a barren land, but he's like a younger guy, and he's like imagining a temple he's one day going to build, and then over years he builds it. You know, but he imagined it. It's not one fold. You're manifesting and looking at it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm imagining somebody going, but I'm too old to start something. You're never too old to behave consciously.
Yeah.
Right? And what you said there as, taking ancient wisdom and making them new, right? Yeah. And how that might appear. It's like some people are yet to start developing a little bit of bravery. It's like how I did that was to disbelieve what I believed. Somebody suggested to me something once. Yeah. You ever tried unbelieving something you believe? Yeah. Good luck. And I was like, yeah, how do I unbelieve something I believe? And it started a whole domino effect. And then you see that it is possible to unbelieve something you believe and then rebelieve it again. And then, evolve your beliefs over time and change, which is kind of what everybody naturally does anyway. But, if you're watching this video, you're probably pretty open-minded already.
Yeah. I would gather.
How we have done in past ages where we learned things, but we didn't fully integrate it into our being still. That's what this age is about. It's understanding past ages and the wisdom held in them, the ageless wisdom that is held in past ages, and synthesizing them together in our age, imbuing it now in this lifetime with our understanding of it, which is pulling from more threads of information from more different traditions and more different spiritual systems than it had in past ages, and coming up with a holistic and a deep knowing of these concepts that we didn't always have the access to because we were learning past assignments. So in this age, the assignment is to begin what Manichaeism started, which is to understand the different knowledge and the different ageless wisdoms in all regions and all different mystical traditions, so that then in this lifetime what we're actually doing is independent study. Whereas in past lifetimes, when we needed very structured spiritual systems to tell us things, in this lifetime what we're doing is synthesizing the knowledge that we have had and incurred from past ages into a larger worldview, one that doesn't just have pieces of it anymore. We're putting those pieces together in this lifetime. And so with those pieces that are being put together, we're having a mature consciousness. Our body, mind, spirit is developing by being able to pull from those different threads of this ancient revival that we're seeing. And so energy centers aren't something that we should fear. We need to understand why power structures were always
Energy centers aren't something that we need to fear, James.
Yeah, I guess not.
knowing all of this occult knowledge and yet calling it demonic to the public. So they were always using all of this ancient knowledge, but keeping it to themselves so that in the public sphere, it was being called demonic. And when you do that enough times where you're using the occult knowledge while you're demonizing it to the public, you can start controlling and performing sorcery to the whole collective, because there is now an inequality in gnosis. There's an inequality in knowledge and the way that it's disseminated. So another part of the alignment within the assignment of this age is dissemination of knowledge. And when we disseminate knowledge, what we're doing is de-occulting it. It is no longer hidden. It is no longer occulted. And so another thing that people see in this age is a lot of occult information that is now being given to the public, and they view that as even being demonic and that being new age, and that's not new at all. And the fact that people now are being informed about it is how you become sovereign. So, is the new age a deception? There are key features in it that are meant to subdue their consciousness, but the majority of the new age is in alignment with the assignment, which is putting together the pieces of past traditions, of ancient knowledge. And we're not always going to do that perfectly. We're going to be hyper in our mind 1 second and be like, oh my God, I could create reality with my thoughts alone. And then in another second, we're going to be swinging all the way to the opposite of that. And we're going to be just like a baby is on its way in development.
I was just thinking as you were talking a little bit of the fear part of it, of some of this stuff being the breakaway from a collective thinking.
Yes.
You know, because one of the things that happens, I think, when you start to individuate a little bit is that you start to see all these freaking layers to things. Like, you heard the term never meet your heroes?
Yeah.
You know, it's a disillusionment. I was always disappointed when I would watch late night TV and, like, Johnny Depp would be on there, who's always playing these larger than, and you see him in real life and he's like, I don't know, he's just mumbling and like, what the heck? And I think it's the disillusionment that sometimes can fear people, or can make people fearful. You know what I mean? Like, now you're seeing, now you're, the point is you're more on your own.
Oh yeah, I think you're making a good point. When you get on that spiritual journey and you start to drift off from the crowd, the farther you go down the rabbit hole, the more you realize that, oh, not a lot of people have treaded here.
Yeah.
And so the farther you get down there, the harder it gets, because...
And that process reveals a lot about yourself and other people. Like, it can, I went to your building for years and now I see you differently. This like person who I looked up to, and I realize all the things I was denying about myself that are like clownishly embarrassing, or immature or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of it starts to come to the light, and part of that is like growing up. Part of that is no matter if you're a religious person or not. There's a bit of that
spiritual maturity.
Yeah.
When we're in this age, what's actually happening is that the powers that were knew that we would evolve spiritually. And so creating so many different psyopses with what to call it. On one end, it's demonic. On the other end, it's this, on this and that, is all ways that we can now fear the very age that we're in, rather than being in harmony with the fact that we came into this age with a purpose, and this age itself has a very important purpose. And so it's not always going to look perfect. It's going to look like a mess a lot of times. You're going to see people doing really crazy, dumb things, and then just take a screen cap of that and say, look, this is the new age. That's just a screen cap. We're cooking. We have a whole process going on. So allow this age to have a process, because no age was perfect. Channeling was in every age. The fact that things were being called demonic was in every age. Even mystics didn't always mean that that was like a highly exalted consciousness. There were mystics back in the day, straight up measuring in the astral plane the length of the fingernails of God. So every age has their own...
That sounds awesome, by the way.
Measuring the fingernail lengths of God?
In the astral plane?
In the astral planes?
What are you up to? Just, I've been traveling for an ocean of time, measuring the fingernails of God.
Yes, I do love that. Sounds cool.
Hiccups. Every age has their own mess. Nothing is meant to be idealized. Nothing's meant to be romanticized. It's only to be in the now moment and to learn and appreciate the gifts in this age as well as the challenges in this age, because every age has both. Because you see, the power structures are aware that they cannot continue to control the collective consciousness through the same devices that they have. So they always shift with every age. It's in that saying, new age, new cage. And so within this new age cage, it's now worship of aliens. And so there's an awareness of higher density beings. That's been aware of since every age. But now in this age, they're coming in to the collective consciousness of this spiritual new age community through the lens as being alien saviors. And that's the new way.
Sorry. I love the idea of alien
Alien saviors, please come. Please, alien saviors. I love it. I love, like, look, man, I don't have any evidence beyond the same blurry pictures that everyone else sees. But I love the idea of
so funny.
of aliens coming and helping.
I know.
love
It's
it.
funny that she said that.
Yeah.
And you picked this video.
Yeah, please bring it
So
on.
that shows you how open-minded you are.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm an alien saviorist.
That this older way, this older paradigm had it through a god, through a deity. And in this age now, it's becoming alien savior races. And so any starseed worth their salt knows that this is obviously an inversion. This is a perversion of the starseed agenda that is being placed inside the spiritual community. And that's because you can't always control the same
Wait a sec.
collective.
Did I miss something?
The aliens are a perversion. Damn. But they have to be.
But she also mentioned that the starseeds were...
Well, it's supposed to take away from the star seeds.
So the starseeds are real?
Yeah, the star seeds are real.
And
but
it's balderdash to say that the aliens might be...
No, I don't know, because usually a starseed, I think, is supposed to manifest as a human. They just have they have a whole character that comes with them when they're incarnated here on Earth.
Well, I'm not an authority on this. I couldn't
don't know
tell you
anything.
one way or the other. Sarah Elkhaldy is a...
Yeah.
What's the word that...
The
gnosis?
To have gnosis, yes. I forget the term. What do they call it?
Go to her page and
Yeah,
it says
yeah.
what the term it is, and it's to gather knowledge, right? So
Yeah.
maybe she knows a lot about the starseed stuff. We're gonna have to do a video on that too now.
Yeah.
of mind in every age the same way. So you're always going to have some new thing to worship, some new thing to be able to siphon your energy and keep you locked inside a paradigm where you will think that you have access gnosis, and in reality it is not actually true development and spiritual growth. And so when it comes to the spiritual community, what happens a lot is that we start seeing now so much infusion into the community around alien gods. And that is by no accident. That was specifically placed inside our collective mind so that now we have this new focal point for either worship or a structure that is presenting itself as being true development when it is not. And so that is one key feature that's happening inside the New Age community that is actually a deception. I hope this has helped you get in alignment with the assignment. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakening. See you next time.
That's one of my favorite videos of hers. That's a good video. Go check out her content.
Yeah. When it comes to the aliens, I was also thinking about like AI. I think is going to play some type of a role inside of there. I hope the aliens aren't a deception. I have no longing to worship aliens.
Well, that was like the last little part of that whole video. There was so much
Yeah.
good stuff in there, and then it was like peppered in at the end. And I tend to agree that. I joke around that eventually the government, sorry if this flags us, is going to be like, for more knowledge of the aliens, come to one of our government buildings in your town. And they'll replace churches. They'll be like, I have to hear what Ziblor says, you know what I mean? And it'll be just like church. It'll be the aliens disseminated knowledge, so church and state can merge. So let's not let that happen, us folks. You know, I've called it now, so you can't do that, government. But yeah, I do think that there's a potential trap there of like deifying aliens. On some sense, I've thought the thought that like maybe these advanced beings could lend us a hand now.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping
that
for.
maybe they could be like, guys, look, this is what you need to. But we already have prophets doing that. We already have people that are like, this is what we need to do. Why does it have to be dressed as an alien for you to believe it?
Yeah.
You know, but some of the things are pretty big asks of like organic matter. Like, you know how you have this tendency to be like super virile and want to mate like crazy? Just lop that off. Lop that part of your character off. Some people are gonna be like, you know, like I'll become very twisted to fit into culture and like hide that part of myself and still get to act it out. You know, like that's a real thing. Do we have empathy for the people that are like, you know, less of stinking, you know, there's a genetic factor. Is there not in some of this stuff?
Yeah.
I always wondered, what would like an enlightened moron look like? What would an enlightened caveman look like? Can anything be enlightened?
Yeah. Well, that's...
You know, or some of us got like a heck of a lot longer to go, or some of us about to like vanish off the planet. Like, you know, like become detached from this reality. And then the other thing I was going to say is, I don't know how much it was mentioned. I'm always in my own little world there. But the idea of it all being one thing, if say you do stumble into some like sort of solipsistic place, you know, and you are divining things all around you, you know, there is an aspect of like, I think seeing from within and seeing from without and seeing that it's like a big reflection, man. It's like from the, you know, as above, so below, as inside, so outside, you know.
And also like a cautionary tale of like, watch out what belief you just latch on to.
Yeah.
When people talk about solipsism or any of the stuff she talked about, I think it's good to go inward, like you said, and like she said, take that time to go find yourself, to validate some of these things within your own experience, rather than just hearing something and being like, okay, I'm going to believe that thing. I'm just going to make that a belief.
Yes.
That's probably not the right way to go. But we've spoken a lot in this video. This has been a long one. If you made it this far, congratulations. That's amazing.
You did it.
And if for some reason you still haven't hit that subscribe button, please remember to do that.
Just do it.
And everyone, until next time,
Stay spiritual.